My name is Lindsay Evans. I'm the treasurer for the AIA Tampa Bay Board and Membership Chair. Welcome to our May membership meeting, a tour of the newly renovated Newman Cigar Factory in Ybor City by Rowe Architects Incorporated. Leading our tour from Rowe Architects, we have Angela Hendershot, AIA, and John Hadley. Angela is also our AIA Tampa Bay Chapter President from Newman Cigar Factory. We want to thank Adria behind the camera who helped arrange the tour. She is generously serving as our camera woman today, so we'd like to thank her. And before we begin, we'll start with a few quick announcements. We have one more lunchtime CE coming up. That's noon via Zoom. It's a virtual World of Glass by PGT, offers 1 HSW LU credit. You can register on our website, aiatampabay.com, and it is free to our members. Our latest gallery exhibit is a virtual gallery, How We Move, explores the past, present, and future of transportation in Tampa. It is an impressive gallery experience, and you can access that through the TBFAD website. That is tbfad.com. And finally, so that everybody is able to enjoy the tour, please mute your microphones on Zoom. And we will be taking questions throughout the tour via text message to Angela's phone. That phone number is 813-598-9186. So 813-598-9186. We will put this number in the chat section too, so you have it. And now I'll turn it over to Angela and John.
Welcome. This is going to be interesting to see how this goes. This first virtual project tour by the AIA locally here. So we're excited to be part of that and excited to show off this amazing project that we've been working on with. Now I'd like to introduce our contractors, Katie Morgan, Tony Howard, and worked with us on projects for about a year and a half or so. It's just an exciting building, exciting project, a lot of history, and thank you for joining us. So, Angela, did you want to say anything, or are you good?
No, I don't know if everyone knows, but Newman Cigar Factory is the only operating cigar factory left in Tampa. So the Newman family is extremely proud of the building and of their company, and we're really proud to help them improve their facility and make it more engaging for visitors, because that's a big part of this project that John will tell you about.
And so, to Angela's point, this is an operational cigar manufacturing facility. The building itself dates to 1910. There have been additions done over the time in the 60s and later. But as we kind of walk through, I'll sort of try to point out some of the history. But for the day, the factory shut down. We got a free run of the place. So obviously, it's a little hard to communicate just how much it's changed since we started the project. But yeah. So when we started the project, I guess kind of going back to when we began, kind of the impetus behind it. The first part was this desire by the Newman family to improve the kind of public side of building and their company. So they had a private, somewhat small museum just here, right where we're standing. It was kind of chopped up into several different rooms. But it was a little bit just kind of out of the way. I think unless you're a real cigar lover and kind of history buff, you might not know that it was here. And the push was for the Newmans to really expand that and to make the factory and the company the destination for not only Tampa and Ybor City, but even potentially regionally, nationally, and internationally too. So we worked with them to envision what this front of house space would be like. So the lobby, first thing was we took down kind of as many of the non-historic partition walls as we could. Another designer, creative arts, who does they do a lot of museum exhibits and fixtures, library work, anything that's kind of more built in, but more just kind of on the exhibit side. They're going to come in after the fact, and they've been working on fabricating and designing the museum portion, which will come in, and additionally some retail space as well. So there'll be a reception desk here. we kind of just blew out the lobby to try to make it as open as possible, and yet highlighting some of the historic material that's here that has just been really exciting to work with. A lot of old historic beadboard. Obviously, the brick is just kind of everywhere, and a lot kind of just beautiful historic structure to showcase. So as we come through here, let's come back, and this will be back this way, the museum portion. But currently, the factory is known for its clock tower. That does make its original, goes back to 1910. Right now, it's been temporarily stopped just because of construction, but this will continue to be a centerpiece of the museum, the clockwork, and this extends all the way up the clock tower. The pendulum that runs it is in the basement. It's fully operational, and it's a really fascinating piece as you come into the museum. So as you move into the kind of relocated portion of the museum, it's again, it's very communicate how much of a drastic difference it was. It's heating on itself, and so what we did is floor structure, going all the way to the basement, floor above, and here we have this beautiful blank slate to come out and install it. So again.
I think when the camera's not on.
No, it's
losing sound.
no, we're losing bandwidth now. It's just as well as the Wi-Fi we have here.
Okay. So the walls they'll be filled up with all the museum exhibits and by Creative Arts in a couple weeks' time. So pretty soon, even still, this will kind of come back and be animated in a way that is much more so than it is now. But all new flooring throughout the lobby. All the fixtures will be new. Coming into some of the new restroom spaces. One of the kind of more exciting features was some concrete sinks that we had made by a local fabricator in Ybor City, and it was an exciting, interesting process to be a part of. But we're very happy about how they turned out. And this is throughout all the kind of front of house restrooms that we have in the building. Coming back to the lobby. This is going to be their kind of gift shop retail space that will be, it's adjacent to the lobby and the museum. And this will be an opportunity for all the visitors to come in and, purchase, merchandise or cigars or all kinds of memorabilia as they come through. So that door there represents the limit from the public space to the true factory space. And as you walk through, it gets transformed completely to, the kind of shipping and manufacturing facility that operates in tandem to the front of house functions. So you can also see here the original structure of the building. It's all in the original 1910 construction. It's all wood. It's all wood frame, essentially heavy timber. And as we go up through the building, I'll kind of point out some more interesting structural features.
Brian, you're talking more about moving.
Say again.
Brian, you're talking not while you're walking.
Okay, all right. So this space was interesting, and it represents a lot of the interesting process that we underwent during design, which was this space was probably divided into 2 or 3 rooms, and it had a drop ceiling, and we had no idea what was above the ceiling until we really got in and got our hands dirty, popped the ceiling, and you could see the original plaster ceiling and a lot of the original trim woodwork that was here since 1910, but had been covered up in subsequent renovations in the 70s, 80s, 90s. So to the greatest extent possible, we tried to uncover those features, restore them, and if they were beyond restoration, then replacing them in kind as much as possible. So this was the old exterior factory wall here, and if you go look at the building in plan, you can very clearly see in the aerial where this was an addition done in the 1970s, late 60s. When we started the project, this was completely, it was furred out, so you didn't even know the brick was there unless you kind of, really kind of put two and two together and realized that this was the old exterior wall. And so it was a tight little corridor. It had a drop ceiling, and it was just not the most inviting place to come for what really is their kind of executive suite. So in a way to celebrate the original historic material, we took off the wall furring and redid the whole corridor to kind of just make it cleaner and more modern and more updated. Redid all the flooring throughout here. So typical office space, again, it had probably original 70s, lay-in tile. That just everything needed to be updated and refreshed. So this is a typical executive office here. The footprint of the offices remain the same. The addition kind of is what it is, and there really wasn't going to be any reconfiguring of the space itself, but it was all about just kind of giving them a fresh, updated space. And I'll bring you to this room before we leave the office suite, because this is kind of back into the original 19th construction. And this room, again, it had a lowest grade ceiling there. Once we took it off, we realized just what was above. All the trim, unfortunately, we've taken it down in the middle of restoring it and refinishing it. But it's all going to go back, and what was behind wall that was furred out was these windows, which were completely covered up. Nobody even knew that they were there. And so we took off the wall furring on both sides and saw that by and large, the original windows that used to be exterior were in pretty good shape. I mean, some of the wood has been, it had a ton of termite damage, and we've had to replace it. But it's an exciting feature to kind of surprise everybody with, and realize that we could use it as a kind of a highlight in the project.
These incredibly high transoms, these roll down fronts.
And I'll point it out because it's a crowd of architects and designers, but one thing that is just kind of fascinating to see the progression of the building is that when they put the addition on, the roof of the addition is actually lower than the top of the window that was here. So I think at the time they thought, well, we'd be crazy enough to expose these windows again. But here we are. And so there's definitely some quirks about the building and the design that we just kind of had to work around. But that's kind of part of living in, designing and working in a building of this age that has had a ton of work done to it over time. So another feature kind of in that line, in that respect is this room, there is a stairway that goes down into the basement that was completely covered up, and the opening, and the Newmans, especially on the kind of the senior ownership, was very excited about the idea of uncovering it and trying to highlight it in any way that we can. And so what we did is we took off all the flooring to get the hatch opening, and we created this hatch that will be operable, and so it will be the Newmans and the owners will be able to kind of show anybody that comes through and tell the story of the building. No, it was not a public stair. Yes, I think back in the day, the story is that, and Adria, you could probably say this as well as I could, but that this room used to be kind of the kind of accounts receivable room, the bookkeeper, and so if anybody was to come and try to rob the building, they would know this is where to come. But yet this was an escape hatch for the person to get down and out of the way and get a head start on the So again, it's just working in this building. It's just been amazing because there's an incredible history and so many stories to tell. That's an example of one. So, and behind this wall is the original vault that they installed back in 1910 that has concrete walls that are probably close to 2 feet thick. And we're not, at one point we talked about maybe enlarging the conference room, but that means you'd have to tear out a lot of concrete. And so we just decided to leave it in place. So now we'll go to the second floor. We're still gonna, well, actually, no, this is a good opportunity to talk about the entry. The entry was, when we started the project, it was just pretty standard aluminum commercial door and side lights. And the transom was more or less kind of intact, but as you can see, there's just a ton of termite damage and about 20 coats of paint. So the Newmans decided to actually replace the aluminum storefront. We were thrilled that they decided to do that, and we're going to have a new, beautiful, kind of historically appropriate wood doors put back in a couple weeks. But the original landing was terrazzo, but unfortunately it was just kind of beyond repair because of some settlement that had cracked quite a bit, and we repaired that, installed new terrazzo over top of it. And one kind of the nicer features that we did was the installation of this brass signature of the founder of the company, J.C. Newman. Are you getting good internet? So one more thing while we're outside, I think it's definitely worth mentioning. Andrew, if you kind of point over here. This is an ADA access ramp, accessibility purposes. We're required to do that, and we really struggled with how to achieve ADA compliance, given that the first floor is probably a good 7 feet, 7 or 8 feet above the So it was a design challenge, and in the end we settled on a solution rather than strong wheelchair lifts, because the owners felt very strongly that they wanted the access for everybody, no matter who they were, to be A, at the front door, and B, something that won't be a maintenance issue going forward, and is a kind of dignified way to access it. So we worked with the barrio to come up with a solution that they were comfortable with, and we felt comfortable with, and in the end, I think it turned out great, and we're really pleased with how it looks. So it helps also, I think, that it's along the front of the building, which is nice for all the reasons I mentioned, just kind of being front of house. I think probably the only reason why we could get away with doing it that way was because of the addition that was done back in the 60s. I think if it had fronted the 1910 building, the barrio might not have been, because again, there's this sort of layering of construction happening over time. It's a little bit, it's a little bit more logical that you kind of, this is another layer of that progression. So let's go upstairs to the second floor now. This is the second floor stair landing, and this is the main stair that's on the west side of the building that goes all the way up, and this is the front house circulation. We're not really doing much in this space. We redid the floors, but the original historic railings remain. There's going to be a little bit of some loose fixtures put in, but by and large, it's going to remain as is. as we move back into this space. This is their break room that they use not only for their employees and staff during the day, but then also for occasionally special events and group gatherings as we move in here. This room got bigger. They wanted just the expanded capacity. It was a challenge from a code standpoint to try to provide the egress for what you know, for an assembly space of this size, given how many people you can fit in here. But we did it, and so it's just kind of a fresh, expanded footprint for the Newmans. One thing that is interesting that I don't know if I'll ever really have to deal with it again on projects is, and I should add that the mechanical grills you see are not the finished grill. Right? Point of pride, I'll say that. But the mechanical equipment upgrade for the whole project was massive, because not only had it just was kind of due for an upgrade, just given the age of it and kind of the piecemeal construction over the years, but also the reality that when the Newmans have a special event, it's a cigar factory. They have people come through all the time, where they'll have an event where you'll have 100+ people smoking. And it's not maybe a kind of a common thing these days, but there's the very real need to get that air out and get fresh air in. And so as a consequence, in order to do that and do it properly, especially given the climate where we're at, you just need a ton of fresh air. So the mechanical specifications were very exacting for this space.
And another point to make, since we have an architectural audience, is you'll notice on the second floor there are no structural columns on the entire second floor, because the ceiling above us, the third floor is supported from above. So you'll see these metal brackets at the beams, and those supports pass through the third floor and then are then supported by the roof. So the second floor in all of these traditional cigar factories was the rolling floor. And so this entire floor would be open with no need for columns whatsoever.
That's right, and we'll walk down to the rolling floor, which is where their rolling machines are, and that's where you really get a sense of the space from wall to wall without any columns, and the flexibility that it gave them even back in 1910 when they built the building. So let's walk down.
We're not muted anymore, so if you wanna. There is somewhere. I think it's actually.
It's very dark. That's okay. I can put it later.
There. Nope. Well, anyways.
Yeah. So let's try that. I think keeping it. Well,
It's not as cool.
It's very dark. It's very dark. But this is, as you can see, as we move from the front of house to the factory side, it's a complete transformation, because the Newmans they're making cigars here, they're shipping cigars, and it's operationally during construction. We've had to work around it the entire time. But this is one of the very cool features. You should come back after all the virus stuff calms down and tour the facility, because it's just fascinating if you're a history buff or cigar lover.
It smells great.
So this is a bunch of loose tobacco that they process in their machines and roll them right here in Tampa.
Put this one first. Yes.
So we're not really doing a ton of work in this area. We replaced the light fixtures, but that's pretty much it. And these are antique machines that they used back in the 1930s to roll the cigars, and they still operate today. And the Newmans do an amazing job of kind of just keeping them up and running, maintaining them as they break down. And when the machines are in kind of full force, it's something to be seen. I mean, the noise and just the movement is incredible. The flooring you'll see is this beautiful kind of patchwork of old original 1910 hard pine flooring with plywood that's probably 50 years old and got about, decades of tobacco juice on it, with steel plates that they put down because the floor underneath was so termite ridden. So it's just this beautiful kind of patchwork. And we talked at one point about doing something to the flooring, but for many reasons, one of them being that you just can't make this history up. You can't fake it. And in a way, it would be just a shame to put in a beautiful brand new sparkling floor. But yeah, this is the factory floor. So.
All these machines, the Newmans brought with them when they bought the building in the 1950s, and I believe they were manufactured in the 1930s. So there are no replacement parts. When a machine breaks down or when one of the parts break, the staff here has to manufacture a new part to get the machine up and running again. So it takes a lot of time and attention and maintenance. And the sound in here when all the machines are running is really pretty amazing. It's really loud, but it's pretty fun to watch. So when the tours are ready, you should definitely check it out.
Yeah, last thing is you probably notice all of the mist. It's not smoke. It's actually humidification that they pump in to keep the tobacco leaves pliant and workable. David, you just jump in on this. Good job. Can you see outside the window? This is one of the egress stairs that we had to install in order to make sure there was the proper exiting capacity for the assembly space.
We're trying for Monday to get the other side. One on the south. Now you got Mondays coming in. Get a chance to show them these restaurants. Show them one of the ones.
So one of the redone restrooms, this is up on the second floor, same kind of material palette as the one downstairs. And this is one of the, again, concrete custom fab sinks, similar to one downstairs. So this will, in the same way that downstairs will be the museum, the gift shop, and the lobby, the idea that the concept is that the visitors will kind of work their way up the west side, and this will be extension of the museum and the hospitality. So the clock tower mechanism is right below us, and the rod that actually controls the clock comes up through here, and it's just kind of cased out. But I'll continue up, and we'll look at that as we go up to the third floor. So the clock mechanism comes up there in the same way, and then comes overhead, and it just spins, and then goes straight up all the way to the storage up to the top, up to the clock itself. I think they rehabbed it maybe like
2010.
yeah, so 2010. I'm not going up there.
Yeah, you can't really, there's no like clock tower.
So the clock tower sits on these massive steel beams, and this is supporting that entire side of the clock tower. And one thing is everybody, all architects who work on construction, it's got stuff happening all the time. We created we took over an attic space for some of the new mechanical equipment that we are installing, and we decided to cut a hole for a return air grill, but we realized that it's right below this massive beam, so all the way coming down would be an issue on this opening. So we created basically a rigid structural, solid, very solid and heavy steel frame to support that. So this is where we'll end the tour, which is appropriate because in the same way that the Newmans wanted to refresh their office space because it hadn't been touched in a couple decades, they wanted to expand their kind of hospitality, special events, kind of hosting the building, and they wanted to make the building accessible, and they wanted to refresh the museum and the lobby space. The other main driver behind the project was this room right here. And most cigar manufacturing, Adria, you step in if I'm misstating, but most of the cigar manufacturing that's done in the United States today is not hand rolling because the labor costs are prohibitively high. They are able to do it here in this factory because of the machines, and there's certain kind of economy of scale that affords. But the vision that the Newmans have is that they want to bring hand rolling American cigar making back to Tampa and Ybor City. So the idea is that this space, which used to be kind of just dusty storage space before we started, it would become this new hand rolling room that would not only produce American hand rolled cigars that cigar enthusiasts would love, but also it would be a tourist destination for anybody that is interested. So they had, vintage hand rolling cigar tables made down in Nicaragua, which is where they have corporate operations. So that would be kind of all set up. And when you come in here, it's really going to feel like, 1940, 1930, whatever, back in the day. So this is when Angel was talking about the structural support down below, the brackets holding the wood beams. This is basically the column in reverse. This is hanging from the roof truss, supporting the third floor so that the second floor doesn't have any columns. So you'll see these rods, throughout the third floor. Yeah, I mean here, and this is one of the rooms we didn't replace the floor because it was really just like a storage space. The flooring was in pretty good shape, and again, because how we plan on using it, we love the idea of just leaving as much historic character as possible. So we did a light refinish, but that's pretty much it. It's the original 1910 floor.
And thank you to everybody who's been submitting questions. If you have any more questions, we're still taking them through the text number that's in the notes on the Zoom meeting. We've been getting lots of good ones. So if anybody else has any other questions, please feel free to text in.
But I mean, that's kind of it. There's a little bit more work throughout the rest of the building, but this is kind of the meat of it. And this is it's been an amazing project. The Newmans are a wonderful client. It's been a process, if for no other reason than because it's been a journey for them as well. It's not what they do really ever, or it's been a long time. So we were kind of learning along with them as far as what they wanted to achieve, and then when we started kind of peeling back the building, how we were going to do it. And AIA Morgan contractor has been great to work with and patient as we kind of figure all this out.
Anything you want? Questions?
Yeah, I haven't got any more questions, but if you have any, we'll keep answering. Let's see. Oh, what is the anticipated completion schedule?
That's a great question. I think coronavirus, notwithstanding, the goal was
The goal was
kind of
originally
end of
this
May.
month.
Yeah,
because, because this month is the 125th anniversary of the J.C. Newman Cigar Company. So the Newmans had planned for a very large party that we unfortunately have had to postpone. So the urgency kind of went out of the completion date, but we're almost there.
Yeah, we should by the end of the month be pretty much wrapped up on the side of the building. Just check the J.C. Newman website for
Yes.
when they're going to be able to open up and
Yes.
have factory tours and kind of really get up and rolling. But please do visit because it will be a wonderful
The
space.
museum will be open again, the shop will be open, so do check back for the website. Yeah. Anything else? I really appreciate you guys bearing with us. I know we think we had some audio problems here and there. Thank you for sticking through it. This is our first attempt at a virtual tour. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Please let Dawn know if you did or didn't, or how we can do it better, so that we can continue offering some good programming for you guys. I'm sorry we weren't able to do this in person, but hopefully we will soon.
Absolutely. Thank you very
So
much.
thank you, John, for leading the tour. Great job. We're very proud of the space. So on behalf of the Newmans, thank you for coming.